is Cheryl Riley. I'm an editor of Variety. I am genuinely so honored to be here for this special screening with this beautiful movie. And at this time, I would love to join the remarkable artists who helped bring this powerful movie to life. I want to start with an actress who is killing it right now on HBO's The Deuce. She's also been seen in the show Show Me a Hero. Please welcome Dominique Fishback. Everyone loves. She's, of course, the star of Girls Trip. You can actually catch her on screens right now in another great movie called Support the Girls. Please welcome Regina Hall. An amazing actor and singer who broke through last year in a big way in the film Detroit. Please welcome Algee Smith. Both on Broadway and in the film version of Fences, and you can also be seen right now in the Netflix series 7 Seconds. Please welcome Hornsby. Everyone here wants to know if you can adopt them. They want you to be our dad. Sorry. A remarkable actress who's been delivering fantastic performances since the age of 12. Still, I doubt even her biggest fans were prepared for her stunning work in this film. Please welcome Amandla Stenberg. Immensely talented director. He previously wrote and directed Soul Food, and producing credits include Barbershop and Beauty Shop. Please welcome George Tillman Jr. Thank you guys so much for being here. Congratulations on just really a magnificent movie. Whenever I have people as accomplished as you all are, I actually like to, embarrass them a little and ask, what was your first job in this business? The first time you felt you could call yourself an actor? First time you felt that you were a writer-director?
Well, the first job I had actually in Chicago, I was a production assistant. One of the biggest production assistant jobs I had actually was when Spike came in to shoot a commercial for Michael Jordan. So I actually had to drive Spike around the city. So I was always just like hitting him up for ideas. I actually got him lost to the airport of Chicago, actually. But that was my first job.
Are you still in contact with him?
Yeah. I haven't seen him in a couple of years, but he's everybody's mentor because he's the godfather. So.
Amandla?
My first job ever was for a brand of dolls called Fivesies, for a commercial that aired on Nickelodeon when I was 5 years old. And I was just a blurry image in the background of the doll, but I was so excited.
Fivesies? These were dolls that were supposed to be 5 years old, or?
No, so there were 5 dolls that were connected. Not a very strong idea. 5 dolls, you couldn't detach them from each other.
This did not go well.
This is the early 2000s. Things are different.
Russell?
Sophomore in college, I did my first job was an anti-smoking campaign. And I played like a smoker coughing all over the basketball court, couldn't keep up, but I got paid.
What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing? My first job was, this is really funny. My first job was a Nickelodeon TV show called How to Rock. And I was like 16 years old. And in the episode, this was my first time on set, so I didn't know what to do. And nobody was really giving me any type of guidance until we were about to get ready to shoot. So I sat down. And in the episode, I had to get spit in my mouth. And so this girl spits from the top, the top of the classroom to the back of the class. And you just see this spitball just come. And it was just very stupid. It was just, but it was my first job, and it was a good experience. I guess you can say I got spit in my mouth. So.
My first job was a commercial for McDonald's. Yeah, and my line was, and some McDonald's fries. He was like, "You want to order a Big Mac?" I was like, "It's some McDonald's fries." It was just
You remember that?
well, yeah. I mean, I love the fries, so shit.
My first TV job was on The Nick, which is a cinematic. I was like opposite Clive Owen. I had like 4 lines, like back door to the kitchen.
Now we talking about Nickelodeon, and she's like just opposite Clive Owen.
But it was only the profile, so only my family knew it was me.
Because your silhouette is kicking.
Well, look how far you've all come. This is such a beautiful movie, and I know it's based on Angie Thomas's best-selling novel, but from what I understand, you got involved even before it was published?
Yeah, UTA, they had the book out, so it was several people was kind of chasing it. I got it in 2016. It was unpublished. It's usually when that happens, you know, there's certain producers who just got the in with all the literary agents and books. But for some reason, you know, they usually go on a higher level. You know, certain producers on certain levels get the books early. Some of the producers in New York get the books before they come out. But for some reason, we got our hand on it very early, so I had to read it pretty quickly. That was in January 2016. So once I read that first chapter, I was really hooked. You know, as some of you may have read the book started off with the party and started talking about identification. So I was really hooked in. So I had to read very quickly. And once you read very quickly, you see other parts and who's all involved. And at the same time, Amandla was reading it as well. So what I have to do as a director, as a producer director, you got to just figure out you got to read the pages quickly, and then figure out what's the theme, how do you go to have all the characters, how are you going to set it up in 3-act structure. So I just did that very quickly and quickly pitched it to Elizabeth Gabler, who I had my relationship since 1997. So I just pitched it very quickly to her and Angie, and that was the way to get in. So it's really about rushing quickly because there's so much competition out here. The great thing is that we had an actress, Amandla was reading at the same time, so we were able to partner up together.
It sounds like in a way you had to audition. Normally that's on the actor, but in this
Yeah,
case...
because that book meant with Angie, on that first phone call, it was her and it was 3 other people, her literary agent. So she just have to see if you're going to do justice to her material. So I was able to understand it was the journey of Star. Everything was through her point of view. And I just talked about, the 2 worlds in Williamson, and I talked about my experience, and then just kind of pitched the story very quickly. She was a fan. She loved Tupac, and I did so with Soul Food and Notorious. I did the movie with Tupac. That character was in that film, and she was aware of my work through those 2 films. So I was able just to connect there. So it was an audition, and I wanted to because I wanted her to know how passionate I was about the material.
And Amandla, same thing for you. You also got it early?
Yeah, I actually found out about the book before it was published because my mom is friends with this young adult author named Paula Yu. And she, Paula? Yeah, she's fantastic. And she had heard about the project. She had received a copy of the unpublished manuscript of the book and told me that the character reminded her of me because of the duality of experience that Star lives between her private school and her home life, which was really similar to mine. And when I read it, I felt like I knew immediately that it was something incredibly special, that the book was going to mean so much to so many people just because we don't always get those depictions of nuanced contemporary Black life or a depiction of what it feels like to be a Black girl who has to alter herself depending on the environment that she's in. So that was exhilarating, and also the voice of it was just so fresh and special and authentic, and I fell in love with it immediately. I think I read it on my phone in about 2 hours. And then I told my agent that it was something that we had to chase as hard as possible. And I attached really early on because producers in Georgia were already interested in me for the role. And then as we got closer to shooting, after we'd gone through the script writing process together and all that, I actually re-auditioned. What? just to make sure.
For your own use, or somebody wanted you to re-audition?
Well, it was just mostly, you know, what happens is, you know, what happens is when you get the budget, you get 20, you know, when you get the budget to the film, it becomes not a small. This is not. It's a small film. We didn't get paid a lot of money, and everybody put their heart into it. But it was just a assurance, you know. Star carries every frame. I knew when I sat down with her that she lived in Inglewood. She went to a white private school. She dealt with a lot of these things and some of the obstacles that the character dealt with. So sometimes you just have to continue to make everybody feel comfortable. So we went back in and we just shot some things, and we did some more situations. And Algee actually came in and did an audition as well, and that was just like signifying he's the guy. So it was that process of just keeping the studio always feeling comfortable, involved. Ultimately, they gave us full control over the film, and it's one of the first films that I felt that everybody that we did what we wanted to do, and I felt really good about that.
I do want to ask the rest of the cast, because this ensemble is fantastic from top to bottom. There isn't a false note in it. How did the script find its way to you, and what attracted you to your parts?
Well, my agent sent it to me. I was working on a project. I was working on 7 Seconds actually in New York, and they sent the script to me, and they said they want you to put yourself on tape by tomorrow morning. And it was 9 pages, and I'm sitting here, you know, doing intense, you know, scenes on 7 Seconds and whatnot, and I'm cursing these mother jumpers out, you know, saying, "How dare you? Tomorrow morning, 18, you know, whatever." But so I did it. But when I read it though, the first scene got me. The opening scene got me. Yeah, I mean that just really just grabbed my heart, and grabbed my spirit, and pulled me in right then and there. And it was easy for me to dive into it in that short amount of time, put myself on tape, and then George and I, a few weeks later, had an opportunity to sit down and just have a conversation. And I was really, you know, just taken by the authenticity, you know, of the script. And I hadn't read the book yet, but I had read reviews, and the word was authenticity. And so, you know, so to George, that's what I would look to come with and bring, is that level of intensity, authenticity, and passion. So I was just engaged, and, you know, I had to audition again, you know, like we all do. But it was well worth it, and, you know, I'd do it all over again.
I'm curious, first of all, can I just say that amazing Broadway voice? You don't need a microphone. But I'm curious, like, you were talking about how you were sort of annoyed when you realized you had to record 9 pages. Was that before you read it, and then you read it and realized how good it was?
Well, yeah, both. I mean, before and after. You're still, you know, yeah, you're still annoyed because, you know, you're working. And as an actor, you know, I really like to commit myself to the work and to the material, even for an audition. You know, you like to read the script, you like to go over the material over and over again. And for an audition, I pour my heart into it. I really, you know, get to the fat part, as they say. And I knew I really didn't have time to do that, and that's what aggravated me the most, you know, that it wouldn't be my best work for this audition, because I really, you know, was drawn to the material. But you still do your best, and you give what you have, and you hope for another opportunity, which is what I was given. And then you're able to really get in there deep and then come back and try to hit something out of the park.
I'm going to guess it was still pretty amazing.
I think it was instantaneous. When we saw his tape, it was like, oh. Yeah. Duh. No, I'm not supposed to say that.
You saw my tape? No.
Algee, for you?
For me, the script, the same way it came through my agents, of course. I was working specifically on a lot of music at this time, so my headspace was there. But when I got the script, immediately the thing that attracted me to it was, I mean, it said Khalil was charming. I was like, I'm pretty charming myself. So no, but honestly, it's beyond that though. It was a story in the meat of it. It was a timely subject. I feel like I related to Khalil a lot. He was a big Tupac fan. He was a big family person. He cared about his family a lot, to where he would sacrifice his own life or his freedom to step up to the plate and be a provider. And so he was just a, you know, I feel like I connected to him immediately. When I had the audition with George, the initial audition, everything just felt right within the audition. Nothing felt forced, and we tried it over and over and over, and not because it was wrong, but because we were just like, okay, well, let's just try it this way to see if it'll work this way. And I think George was just testing me a lot. You were just testing me, huh? He was let me see if he can adapt. But no, it was good though. In the audition, I really felt like I connected not only with George, but also with Khalil.
I mean, it's very difficult because we have very little time and we have to absolutely fall in love with you in those few moments, and we do. And that's got to feel like a lot of pressure at the same time.
Yeah, it was, but I think more so the pressure was just me getting it right for, you know, I've been saying this, that I just wanted to be a vessel for families that have actually gone through this, for mothers that have lost sons, and brothers that have lost siblings. So more so than the pressure of, like, make people fall in love, it was more so the pressure of, all right, I want them to feel that peace or some sort of justice when they watch this, you know, some sort of, like, just peace. You know, that's what it was.
And Regina, for you?
Actually, George had, how long ago was it, George? George had told me about a project, this book. How long ago before?
Yeah, it was about 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, he had told me about it, and then I didn't hear about it. I was like, I don't know what George's talking about. And I had auditioned for George before, and you remember I didn't get it. Yeah. I had gone in, and I was like, you know, I had a meeting with them for that job, and I was like, you know, I was like, yeah, I'll go audition. And they were like, nah. So I didn't have, like, I was like, okay. So the time had passed, and then I was like, here we go with George again. George dangling the little movie carrot. So, but then I think it passed, and he said, George said, do you remember when I talked to you? And then my agent called and said, do you remember, George said he talked to you about a project. I didn't even remember. And I was like, he did. And then they sent the book, I read the script, I thought it was great. I knew there were some other people, well, no, not George. George said he didn't want anybody else. Wait, let me ask his wife. That's the real person who knows. Marcia probably cast me for real. They, you know, I knew that the studio was like, well, you know, is it right for Regina? But anyway, everything worked out, and then I found out I had gotten the part, and I was really excited. You know, by then I knew Amandla was going to be star, and you know, and then Russell, you know, was, I mean, I knew the cast, you know, and so I was really excited and just thrilled to be a part of that.
When you say that the studio had some reservations, is it because you're primarily known for comedy? Which, by the way, is just as hard, if not harder than drama.
Yeah, I don't know, George, what was it? What was it, George? You already know.
I won't say. It's a process, you know.
Yeah, it was the process of the
process. But I never wavered. I just know you got to go through that process. Because I knew that other person couldn't do what you do. You know what I mean? And so that's what happened. So that person, that person went away.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because I had.
We made sure they went away.
Yeah, they went away, and then you know what? It just worked out, and I would have, you know, I was so excited. You know, when you don't get a role, to be honest, you don't get offended. Like, I joke with George, but like, even with the other job that I did not get, if I didn't say that, but I mean, to say this, but when I did see who they cast, that person was incredible. So you don't get upset. Like, you know, you respect the process, and sometimes it's you and sometimes it's not. So I was just very, very excited to be able to actually work with George. I mean, he's a director whose work I admire, whose work ethic, and I think he's so incredibly smart, so incredibly talented. So to be able to work with him on a project that he was passionate about, that was exciting because I knew I would grow as an artist. So.
And actors are always told you're not just auditioning for one role, you're auditioning for all the roles in the future. So it's actually nice to hear that there's some truth to that.
Yeah, that's a lot of truth because, you know, that audition that you did for me, right?
Right, the one I didn't get?
Yeah, the one you didn't get. Right?
Be clear.
Because my wife, she's out there. No, she always tells me to keep every audition. Everything is archived, right, on Melrose and Seward, right? I got a storage. I keep everything there. that audition was the most amazing audition I ever seen, right? Because when you came in, we sat down and we talked, and then you came in an audition very similar to what Amandla. We did like 5 different versions of like 2-3 different scenes. Me and you was just connecting. I always feel like audition is about if 2 people can connect, right? So I always kept that in mind. So when you remember all these things, and I just see all your beautiful work that you have done. Like you've done so much things, and I just felt like you was a beautiful part of the puzzle. So I remember all those things. So I think, every work you do is never will be forgotten. So I think that's very important.
And Dominique, for you?
So I didn't know about the book, but I got my agent gave me an appointment, said that they wanted me to go on tape for this. But I was just finishing The Deuce, where I play a prostitute, or a sex worker.
I think they're applauding for the Deuce.
Yeah, and so I was thinking. So when I got the size and I saw Kenya was saying like, she wanted to fight a girl, and I was like, oh man, like I gotta. But then after I read the script and found out everybody that was attached, I thought because I come from East New York, Brooklyn, I have an experience, so I understand this girl. And if I had the opportunity to play her, I would make sure that she had emotional capacity and level, so that she wouldn't be one note. And me and Amandla talked about that a lot. And so that kind of connected me to it as well. But I also have a one-woman show that I wrote about the destruction of Black identity in America. And so it was something that always mattered to me. And Eric Gardner was a part of my family. And Erica Gardner, my cousin, passed away in December, and she became an activist because of the murder of her father. So I just felt like, wow, this would be my first studio movie. And if I get the opportunity to not only work with these amazing actors, but about a topic that's really important that hits home to me, then there's no other choice but to do it.
I am curious because this movie walks such a fine line, and it is so well done. And I think of all the ways that things could have gone wrong, or it could have not worked, or it could have, felt preachy or maudlin, and you managed to subvert my expectations at every turn. I mean, were there long discussions about that with the actors as well, or was it you had this book that was such a great resource as well?
No, I think it was, maybe we all can speak about that in terms of, I think our rehearsal time did a lot in terms of being able to what we wanted to achieve, establish relationships, in terms of what we trying to do is find honesty. So I think that 2.5 weeks that we had together put us all on the same, we were just all having the same vision.
Yeah, I think we were always talking about not getting it right or wrong, but being truthful, being honest, and being honest to the source material, which is the book. But the truth is, from my standpoint, I really have to commend George with the cast, because there are a lot of talented actors out here. There are a lot of people who could have done these roles, and so it's not about necessarily the talent that you assemble, but it's the humanity that you assemble. And so I think everyone came with a graciousness. Everyone came with a sense of integrity and purpose to the work, and opened themselves up, and let open their hearts up. And I felt like there was no egos on set. We were having fun. We were laughing. We understood the gravity of the work, but we didn't let it weigh us down. I felt like, and so we had fun. While doing something serious, but being passionate about it. And I think that was really important. And I think George is the credit for that, for the cast that he assembled, because they're all just great people.
I mean, when you're casting, you're not just casting great actors. Are you looking for great people too? Or, you can get fooled sometimes, but...
Yeah, no, I just think I always feel like auditioning, or when you're having a conversation, sometimes it's not really about the material in front of you. It's about the communications and the chemistry between the actor, the director, or the cast. It's like with me and Amandla, or like Algee, like that relationship was about carrying the spirit of the book and being able to relate to one another to carry out the vision. So a lot of that was just about just having the comfortability with each other and having the understanding of what the material, what we need to get out of the material. So that's how I always look at things.
I'm actually curious about that chemistry because, Amandla, you have to have it with everyone on this panel, really. Your guys' friendship feels so real. You and Algee connect like in such a quick way, and then these people really feel like your parents. Do you credit the rehearsal period with that, or was it pretty instantaneous?
I think it was pretty instantaneous. I definitely credit the rehearsal period. George had us do some really insightful, amazing, just different demonstrations and rehearsal exercises that I think really helped us give us the basis for our relationships, and also just the freedom and the comfortability to know it was a safe place to explore and be authentic and be vulnerable. And I think we were all unified, like as Russell said, by this intention that we had with the work. I think we understood while we were working on it that it wasn't just about us or even the film itself, but that through there's this kind of beautiful meta thing that would happen in which we understood that through the film itself we were protesting an institution that we didn't believe in. And so I think because we were rooted in that, we were driven by passion. And we were driven by passion, and that doesn't always get to happen. So that was really special, and I think it gave us a sense of community. It allowed us to be authentic with each other and be loving towards each other. And Regina was always cracking jokes, so that also gave the set a lot of levity.
Yeah, so it sounds like you were able to have some levity on set, and the movie's actually very funny too. I could watch the scene where your boyfriend meets your father 20 times over. But I am curious, what for each of you did end up being the most challenging part of the job or of the role?
Preparation, just preparing. I mean, for me, I secluded myself personally, for a month. And so asked my wife, sort of take the kids to the in-laws and whatnot. And I wanted to use that time to get myself in that headspace for Maverick. I used that time as sort of like his incarceration bit of, his time spending. So using that time to spend reading and listening to music and getting in that headspace. And, Regina and I had also had time to sit and talk and brainstorm and figure out who these people are. And you do that, and you build all these layers for the characters. And once you have those layers, once they're there, what you want to be able to do, you work so hard and you're very intentional in what you're doing, so that once you get to set, you can let it go. And then now you can just be. Do you know what I mean? And then I think I felt like, for me, everybody did that. Everybody was so prepared and so ready that we were able to just be. And then that's why we were able to have so much fun. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, after cut, it's like, hey, we laugh and telling jokes, and it's like, roll it. Everybody, okay, let's get with it. You know what I mean? Let's get into it, because everybody was prepared. And I think that's the most challenging, I believe, for any actor who is serious about it. It's that preparation, And then once you do, the fun is supposed to be the doing.
Yeah.
It was hard for me because my dog had just passed away. I don't know, and I don't have a child, so my dog was like my child. So I think the day I found out that I got the part was the day they told me Zeus had that he wasn't going to live, basically. So he passed away maybe like 6 days later. So by the time I came to set, it was about more being like not heavy, because I didn't feel like these characters were heavy, from where I grew up, whatever. It's just kind of a part of your world, and then heavy circumstances happen. But you're not walking around like, oh, woe is me, it's just your world. So it was kind of for me to not be over there crying in front of George, to be able to receive what, to put that away. And Zeus, I believe his little spirit was on the set. So that was probably challenging, but I think it was actually great, because a lot of times in life you're going through something. I mean, even as an actor, I always have something that's going on with the character that no one else is gonna know. So it's like in life you're usually having something go on, but you still have to go to work, you still have to do everything. So it was great to have that kind of. It wasn't great, fuck that. It was helpful. it was certainly helpful. And then to be able to go to work, and the fact that I did enjoy going to work so much, and like Amandla was just, so great. It's like there's not really a word that I can use to say, but she was just to watch a girl, a woman, a young woman, over and over and over and over, literally give over to the circumstances of that movie, and to have Russell exude. It's like at one point we went to this place. It was like what was it? Driving. And it was me and it was us, and we were waiting, and like Russell was going to check. He was like, and it felt like we were the characters, to the point where I was like, he felt like Maverick, I felt like Lisa, they felt like Star and Takani, and we were at 7, we were waiting, and it was so real. So it was like there was such opportunity and richness. And then like when I met everyone else, I was like, I just couldn't believe that there were these many beautiful people. And then the reason I felt like I had to be good, my first meeting with George had a notebook. I was like, I couldn't even imagine slacking when I had a director who was so on point. It would have made me feel,
He had all the characters, intentions, and objectives.
Oh, but yeah, he had everything. He had everything. So it's like all I had to do was do the work. Like
Better come ready.
He really was ready, and I was just so like, I was, terrified and blown away, because I was like, oh, George is coming to direct. And so that was phenomenal.
Algee, Dominique?
The most challenging part for me, other than the obvious, I would say, man. Okay, I would say maybe the casket, the scene where we did the casket day. Because I just had to hold my breath in that casket for so long. And I was trying to stay into it, so I didn't want to get out of the casket. So we would have maybe like 10-minute break, or maybe like 15-minute break. And I'm just in the casket. I'm like, this is so uncomfortable, bro. But it was definitely necessary. But then I'm just holding my breath, and I'm just hearing as the scene plays on. And then sometimes Amandla cries a little bit longer the next scene than she did before. So I'm holding my breath a little bit longer this time. But no, honestly, the most challenging part was, and I'm not just saying this honestly, it was probably leaving the set, to be honest, because it was just a family on set. You could tell that whether you were in every scene or not. It just felt like a big family community. It was so many wonderful black people on set, beautiful black people on set. There were so many just beautiful people, period. You know what I'm saying? It felt like family, and it felt really good. And I was in Atlanta. I grew up in Atlanta, so I just didn't want to leave the environment I was in. But other than that was probably the most challenging.
I don't know. I guess I always had a way of preparing for a role that I would do for every single role. And at that point when I was doing Kenya, when I was at home trying to do it, or in a hotel trying to do it, it wouldn't come the same way. And so I had to then allow myself to say, well, Dom, this person like the back of your hand. You know what I'm saying? Like when I got the sides, I said, okay, what is the thing that Kenya is really trying to say? And the one line that stuck out to me the most was when she said, you're so lucky you go to a private school, you don't have to deal with hoes like that. And to me, that was her saying that if she could be in Star's shoes, then she would. Like, she's not going to flat out say, I want to go to a private school like you. But if she had a chance, she would. And so from reading the sides the first time, that's the line that I got, and I knew. So I felt deep in my heart that I knew her. And so all the things that I did to prepare for, like, Darlene, Heavy in the 70s, wasn't what was required of Kenya. And so I had to allow that to be okay and trust the process.
I think there's a difference between when you act a piece of fiction and when you act something that's reflective of a contemporary experience that is pervading so many different people and so pervasive in the Black community. And I think that was, doing this film required a process of reflection that I didn't even realize I was capable of, in terms of thinking about how my community is impacted by these experiences and the pain that we carry, in our bodies and our minds and our hearts, and how that extends beyond the events themselves, but how it affects us in the way that we relate to each other, in our health, in our mental health. And so I think that was the most challenging part, was to maintain that level of emotional tension, and to recognize that this is real. It's not something that stops when the cameras stop rolling. It's something that is continuous, that is insidious, and that affects our community in such a myriad of ways. So I think, I felt this. I had this feeling of knowing that while we were making this film, we were honoring the lives of Michael Brown, of Eric Garner, of Tamir Rice, of Philando Castile, of Sandra Bland. I had this feeling of feeling like they were watching over us, and it was our responsibility to do them justice. And I think it was a place for all of us to grieve as well and mourn. I didn't know any of those people personally. Obviously, Dom, that was a part of your family. I think that the set became a place of grieving and of holding a space to honor. And so I think emotionally that was the most challenging part for me, was feeling that weight on my heart and knowing that this was not something that was just within the confines of filmmaking.
And I want to say too that I just felt like Amandla was such a great leader to follow. I just have to say that I'm so proud of her, and I just was moved every time she was on set. You know, she had so much integrity for the story and with the book and everything. So I just wanted to let that be known.
I know you shot this movie. You actually started a year ago, I believe, this week, and I'm sorry that it was such a timely topic then and is still a timely topic today. And I do think the movie also is a beautiful way to honor these people and really spread the word. And now I'm just monologuing. I apologize. I love this movie. I want to remind everyone it's going to be in theaters first week of October.
October 19th, but we opening limited on the 5th and the 12th in certain cities. But it's October 19th. Yeah.
So please spread the word.
LA.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for being here.